On their way to Vermilion City, our protagonists come across a giant shadow, to discover that it was just a Charmander perched on a rock. Pikachu talks to it and tells us that the Pokémon is waiting for his trainer, who promised that he would come back for him. Arriving at the Pokémon Center, it starts to rain and some bad-looking boys show off their Pokémon, learning that one named Damien abandoned his Charmander. So they run in search of it, seeing how it is attacked by some Spearow, to be saved by Pikachu. With great difficulty, they manage to take it to the Pokémon Center. After a long night, Brock tells us that Charmander fled. So returning to his path and with the intervention of the Team Rocket, Charmander appears to save the protagonists. Damien, now he is willing to take it. But Charmander refuses, chasing him away with the help of Pikachu. Finally, Ash suggests that Brock stay with it, but Brock, being a good friend, lets Ash stay with him, since he was the one who covered the flame on his tail. Lost in a forest, Misty sees an Oddish which he tries to catch, but when she throws the Pokeball at it, a Bulbasaur opposes it. Ash takes out Butterfree but loses the fight and both Pokémon escape. Crossing a somewhat dangerous bridge, Brock falls into the river, and in their search, Ash and Misty are left hanging from a tree. But suddenly, Brock appears and rescues them, saying that a girl had saved him. Arriving at her house, she tells us that her name is Melanie and that she is dedicated to taking care of those Pokémon in the forest that are injured or have been abandoned, and that she is the creator of the traps. At that moment, Team Rocket appears to do their thing, but Bulbasaur and Ash manage to stop them. Now, Melanie tells us that Bulbasaur has always protected the village, but she asks Ash to take it away so its bulb can grow better. So after its capture, they say goodbye and continue on their way to Vermilion City. On their way to Vermilion City, our protagonists fall into the trap of some Squirtle, but upon hearing the police siren, they flee. Upon arrival, Officer Jenny asks the three protagonists if they are okay, and takes them to her workplace where she informs them that the previous gang is called the Squirtle Squad, and that they were abandoned by their trainers. So they became wild and from then on, they dedicated themselves to making pranks around the city. So after a plot in which Team Rocket joins up with Squirtle Squad, they along with Meowth take the protagonists to a cave. Ash manages to get out and is unconscious for a whole day, so Officer Jenny ends up taking him back to the cave. But when they arrived, there was no one there. Worried, he leaves the cave and sees that they were on the other side. Now, Team Rocket attacks them, taking Pikachu, leaving the boss Squirtle immobile and being rescued by Ash. Excited by his bravery, it manages to defeat the bad guys. So after putting out the fire created after the attack, the boss Squirtle follows our protagonists and shows us his excitement at being with our champion.
Having already turned 10 years old, Ash Ketchum is ready to begin his Pokemon journey. After a chaotic night full of doubts about which starter to choose, Ash wakes up and realizes that he is arriving late to Professor Oak's laboratory. Upon his arrival, he meets Gary, who is the professor's grandson and his lifelong rival. So once inside the laboratory, he discovers that the Pokemon he wanted were no longer there, having to stay with a very adorable one called Pikachu, which he hugs without knowing that this Pokemon was unfriendly and capable of generating electric shocks. Now is the time to leave Pallet Town and try to catch new Pokemon, where he meets Pidgey, Spearow, and Rattata, whom he does not know and has to consult their information in the Pokédex, which causes his captures to fail and Pikachu laugh at him for being such a bad trainer. After Ash gets his first catch, our protagonists decide to rest in the forest while Pikachu and Caterpie play together under the full moon. In the morning, they see a wild Pidgeotto and Ash wants to catch it, so after a failed attempt by Caterpie, he manages to capture it with the help of Pikachu. Suddenly, Team Rocket appears wanting to take Pikachu, being that one attacked by coughing. So Ash takes out Pidgeotto, but it is quickly defeated by the rival Pokemon. Now only Caterpie is left, which is weak, but thanks to its string shot it manages to defeat the villains, letting them escape from the scene. Finally, after the fight, Caterpie gains enough experience to evolve, being the first time we see an evolution in the Pokemon anime.